There you go. All right. So the subject of today's video is... Old friend of mine, Mr. J. Buck, has requested that I do a simple demonstration on how we utilize soil pockets. So I'm going to reference a couple of things, both from the present and from the past, and hopefully y'all will get the picture pretty well, pretty quickly. If you haven't seen my video on how to make soil already, utilizing our Back to Eden method, go ahead and have a look at that now. Pretty simple, pretty quick. You'll gain a lot of insight. And go ahead and sit down and get comfortable as well. Maybe even put some sunglasses on and stay a while. Okay? So, soil pockets. What's the deal with soil pockets? Who needs to use soil pockets? Creedmoor doesn't need to use soil pockets. You know, his garden's 13, 14 years old almost. He doesn't need soil pockets. But y'all may have just made your garden. Are you still tracking me? Y'all may have just built your garden and you need soil pockets. Right. Because all you did was put down wood chips. You got some wood chips from one of the wood chip, Joe's tree service, dumped some wood chips at your place. You spread them out. Now it's almost, we're on the cusp of spring hitting and you have no idea what to do. You put 12 inches of chips on the ground and reality set in. Now you're starting to think, hey, I got 12 inches of chips on the ground. Where's the seed going to go? Well, what am I going to do? Dig all the way to the bottom where the cardboard and the paper and dirt and all that stuff is down there? And put a seed in the ground and hope that it doesn't collapse over the top of a seedling? Can I put a seed in the dirt down there, cover it with all those wood chips? Will it swim to the surface? Not if it has no light. Okay. You got wood chips. They're fresh. They're still only a few months old. They may not even had any leaves on them, so there wasn't much chlorophyll or nitrogen in them. Definitely not too much growth hormone in them because trees don't typically push new branches and tips going into fall and winter when they're about to become, of all things, dormant. So, that being the case, what are we going to do? What do we do? I mean, I'm sitting on a sea of wood chips. How's this supposed to work? Soil pockets. J-Buck wanted to know how to use soil pockets to his advantage. He's got a brand new garden. He's got some new garden space and some old space. He's got some soils that he could sift to make some really quality seed germination soils. He's already done so. And now he wants to know what's the next step. What do I do? Well, let's talk about it first. First of all, you see all these plant starts behind me? Those were started in soil blocks that I made using this soil. It's the same soil that I made in that video. Check it out, you'll learn. Okay? We made them, we grew them, we sowed them inside in the greenhouses. The plants popped up, we watered them, we cared for them. But because it wasn't time for them to go out, it was only time for them to be hardened off. And it's not easy to harden them off when they're in soil pocket form. Instead, what I did was I took some of these old plant pots and I put them in there with some of the soil. Now they can come in and out of the greenhouse and get hardened off. When the timing is right, when the nighttime temperatures are going to be warm enough, they're going to go in soil pockets. Okay? So let's back up a little bit. You don't have plants, you don't have compost, you have nothing. Well, you can go buy a small amount of soil. You can go find a friend who can make you some. You can beg, borrow, or steal, but you can get some soil, even if you have to sift your own wood chip compost. It's not that difficult to do. All right? Let's just say you did that. You got 8 inches of chips on the ground. We're sitting on 20 inches of chips. You don't want to dig to the dirt and poke a hole in the cardboard because you know that's not going to work well. Everybody's talking about how it doesn't work great. It works sometimes. But honestly, let's think about this. If you were not able to get plants to grow or germinate in the clay and the dirt below your garden, you're probably not going to be able to do it now that you covered it with wood chips, at least not immediately, not until some time passes. So the alternative that we have, got all those wood chips on the ground. Y'all can see this right here. I'm just going to move those coarse wood chips away, allowing myself to have a small pocket in the soil. Well, in your case, a small pocket in the wood chips. And then I'm going to put an amount of soil into that pocket that is consistent with the size of the roots of the plants that I intend to grow. Does that make sense? Okay, so what does that mean? You don't, yeah, you're yelling at me right now. You don't know how big the roots of your tomatoes are, right? I'm going to tell you this. The roots of the tomato plants are rather grand. They're large. You could bury a whole tomato plant. The tomato plant would become a root. Enough on tomatoes. Lettuce. You see the lettuce over there on the left? Maybe, maybe not. If I move over here, you might be able to see it. Lettuce needs about 6 inches of soil. If you blow up a balloon, 6 inches, and fill it with soil, that's how much lettuce needs. Over here, we've got some Swiss chard. Swiss chard needs about 8 to 10 inches of soil. So if you blow up a balloon and you can fill it with 10 inches of soil, it's going to grow Swiss chard. Okay? Similar for broccoli. Broccoli wants quite a bit of soil. Okay? There's a Waltham broccoli. You're going to want to do about 8 to 10, maybe even 12 inches of soil for that particular plant. And you know what? Let's go ahead. I've got a kale plant right here. It's beautiful. Everything is beautiful when we do it this way, folks. Everything. Kale needs about the same space as broccoli. I typically like to give those particular plants between 8 and 10 inches of soil. So if I was to dig down, say 5 inches, and I put 5 inches of chip all the way up around it, I can go ahead and just pour basically that bucket of soil that we made right into the ground. Y'all can probably see that. Okay? Form a small hole. Pop my kale or my broccoli, my plant start out, and simply enter it right into the soil, bringing the vetted soil that we know works for germination, plant growth, into its sides and gently packing the soil down. Just gently. It doesn't have to be anything more than firmed. And once it's firmed, you can make sure that the soil level matches the soil that is around your plant, and you're going to be good to go. Okay? We're going to water that plant. Inside of a week or two, it's going to start to push its roots all the way out in search of nutrients. Then it will be time to start feeding it. Okay? We'll cover that another time. If it happens to be a seed, okay, we'll take that plant out, put it back, stick the kale back in a tray. If it happens to be a seed, we're going to put that amount of soil into the pocket. We're going to poke a little tiny hole, and we're going to drop the seed in. How deep? This is a question I get all the time. How deep do you put a seed? It's pretty simple. If the seed happens to be, say, a corn seed, roughly 1/4 inch, we don't plant them any deeper than 3/4 inch. The rule of thumb is roughly 2 to 3 times more than the diameter of the seed that you intend to plant. Those of you that have planted lettuce before, you know the seed is really, really tiny. There's some other plants where the seeds are even smaller. If you bury those seeds too deep, they're not going to germinate. It's that simple. Typically, these crops that you see here, they germinate at lower temperatures. So if you're not already getting these guys to go in a windowsill, try to do that, because as it gets warmer, it gets much harder for them to germinate. And then, well, it's harder for them to evolve as plants. So if it happens to be a tomato that you're going to plant, same thing exists. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plant my seed 2 to 3 times the width of that seed into the soil. It's going to grow into a small plant. Probably right now, because we're so far off of putting tomatoes out into the general population of the garden, it's probably a little bit early for me. But what I'll normally do is I'll get that plant to grow into a start like this, and I'll bury it really, really, really deep. I'll even put some soil up around its stem to give it some structure. When you do that with your plant starts, you really, really can go right back in and put those wood chips right up against its stem. That's going to help to keep moisture in that soil pocket, so that the seed or the plant can have access to the moisture that it needs in order to expand its agenda. In the case of the seed, if it doesn't remain moist for a period of, well, every day until it becomes a plant, it probably won't germinate. Okay? So my best advice to you is, if you're going to drop your seeds, you're going to put them in the soil, you're going to want to probably bring some of those chips in, surrounding that soil, covering that soil pocket up to protect it from moisture loss, and then leaving a small window right where the seed is that's not covered by wood chips. Okay? And the seed will start to come up through that. As it starts to come up through that, it gets to a second or third stages of leaves, we're going to start to give it a little bit of food. All right? And then you'll have a plant in place. But I promise you, folks, this is the kind of thing that you really can do, even if you just put wood chips down. If I built this bed right here this year, or I should say this winter, this would be what I'd be looking to do. Okay? I'd be looking to use soil pockets. So this goes along with that little write-up that I put into the Back to Eden method page on YouTube. You can read it. It's been posted to the front page of that group. If you're not a member of the group, please ask to become a member of the group. It is a private group. I also do a little bit of work for the Back to Eden Garden page as well, which is not a private group. Feel free to go there. You can reach out to me with questions there. I'm always in the garden. I'm always listening. I'm always learning. And I'm always sharing what I know and what works. So if you haven't done so by now, please go ahead, click the like, give me a thumb up, not down. And go ahead and subscribe. I need the algorithm to tell me that more people need information like this. And when it does that, it's going to open up some doors for me to gain access to other growers. Together, you and I will work towards that goal. Everybody on the planet needs to grow their own food. Really. So, peace. May God be with you, and happy growing in your garden. And in finality, thank you, Justin, for asking such a great question. Peace be with you.